Hello and welcome to this Music Technology Quick Tips video tutorial series. Today we're going to be looking at a gated pad sound. Now this should help you out with your A2 composing using music technology task. So as you can see up here, I've got two elements on my arrange window. I've got this sustained pad sound and I've got a drum beat underneath it. Now what we're doing here is using the drum beat to trigger a noise gate on the pad sound. So we'll just have a quick listen to how that sounds. You should be able to hear the pad jumping in and out there with the drum beat. Okay, so let's take a quick look at how to set this up. On channel 1 we've got an Alchemy synth, just giving us a 90s pad sound that we're using to trigger or to be triggered rhythmically by the drum pattern. And down here we've got our ultra beat drum pattern, which is going to trigger our pad in and out as we've just heard. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of our drums, fade those all the way down, and just bypass the noise gate, and we'll have a quick listen to how it sounded originally. So that's just your sustained pad. So enough of that. Okay, so we're now going to reverse engineer how to put this together. So I'm going to bring my drums back up for the moment, and I'm going to create a second noise gate on effects slot 2. Just go down to dynamics and noise gate at the bottom there, and we'll leave that alone for a moment. So if this were an audio channel, we'd directly be able to select the side chain on the gate from the audio channel, and then use that drum track to begin triggering the pad. But as this is a software instrument, there's an extra step we have to go through. We're going to create a auxiliary send bus. Just going to go down to bus 4, and that will pop up at the bottom of my mix window. Just going to call that demo for this demonstration. And the next thing we're going to do is send that pre-fader, and I'm just going to bring this up to 0 so it sends the full output from the ultra beat. Okay, so if I turn this down now and I click play, you're currently hearing your ungated luscious pad sound there with the drums. So in order for us not to hear the drums when this is turned down, we actually need to select no output on this bus. So the bus is just being used to internally route the audio through Logic and back into our sidechain. So now that's set up, we can see that our drums are bouncing away there, but they're no longer audible. Come back over to our gate, just open that up and select bus 4, which is our demo drums. Okay, so if I click play now, we can start configuring the gate. So I've just brought our threshold level all the way up. So below our threshold level, this noise gate is going to turn the signal down by whatever the reduction amount is set here. Okay, so we can actually use this noise gate as a downward expander, and we can use much lower levels of reduction to not entirely cut the pad out, but just cause it to jump up and down in level rhythmically. Okay, so we're going to start bringing our threshold level down. So that gives us something similar to what we're hearing before. This is where it gets fun. We've got these 3 other controls you can see here: attack, release and hold. And by manipulating these controls, we can actually cause the speed of the fade up and the fade down times, and also the hold times of our gate. So let me just discuss what's going on here quickly so you get the hang of it. Threshold level is set where it is. When in this case our drum signal is below the threshold we set, then it's going to turn the pad sound down by, in this case, 100 decibels. Okay? As soon as our threshold is met, the sound will quickly fade up to the threshold level and above. This is set by our attack. Okay? So if we set a long attack, let's have a listen. You can hear that starting to fade up and gets progressively more sluggish as the settings get higher. Great. Okay. Next one to look at is our hold. That dictates the amount of time that the gate will stay open after the signals drop back below the threshold level, and before the release section is then played, which means it's going to fade back down to the full amount of reduction. Okay, so I'll just play with this control quickly. I'm going to set the attack pretty short, just so you can hear, and I'm going to set my release pretty short as well, so you can really focus on what the hold control is doing. See, it's having much less of an effect there, and as I bring that down, it's getting progressively more choppy. We've got a very glitchy sound down at the bottom there, so I'm just going to put that back to about 30 milliseconds or so, and we just play with our release time. Okay, cool. So the last thing we'll look at is just this reduction amount. So if I gradually bring the amount of reduction up to a much gentler value, say minus 20 dB, so below the threshold, it's going to turn the sound down by 20 decibels, and then every time the threshold is exceeded, it will fade that sound up to whatever the threshold level is, and then these two durations will kick in as soon as the signal's dropped back down below the threshold. Okay, so let's have a listen now to a reduction of, say, minus 20 odd dB. Let's try that. So you can hear the tail of the synth a lot more there now. Bring that up even further. Cool. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how to set this up in your own projects. Bear in mind for this, you don't just need to use it with synthesized sustained sounds. You could use it with one of your audio samples that you found. So say a lathe running or a steam engine that you've sampled. You could use one of your own rhythms put together with a bunch of mechanical samples that you've derived from various places, or even just using a simple drum beat that is either heard or not heard within the project. So that gives you a jumping pad. Get creative. Enjoy. Bye.